with great virtues, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering, attain bliss and birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth. Hướng thính đại đức tận tình, vì thứ pháp hội cập nhật thiết chúng sanh, thiên duyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như á liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đạt lạc, thức chứng vô sanh. Homage of the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Đan Thô Chi Chế Đô Ye A La Hờ Đi San Miao San Phù Tô Xie. Nam mô Tạc Tạc Tha Tô Ya Đa Ya A La Ha Đế Tam Miao Tam Bồ Đà Tô A. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and maintain it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa bai jie wan jie nan zao yu wo jin jian wen de shou chi yan jie ru lai chen shi yi. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Sixth Patriarch, Venerable Shenhua, all Buddha advisors on the Tofo. 诸佛菩萨六祖师父上人，各位善知識阿彌陀佛. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Lục Tổ, Hòa Thượng Tiến Hóa, quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. All right. Welcome to our lecture of the Vajra Sutra. Today is the 12th of August 2012. We are continuing our lecture on the Vajra Sutra in Rosemead, California. Today we also like to welcome some new visitors to our small temple. It is indeed very auspicious that we are able to get together and discuss the sutra. The sutra is Sanskrit that stands for teaching from the Buddha's mouth. Teaching from the Buddha. And the Buddhists investigate the sutras in order to understand more about Buddhism. And this particular sutra is the Vajra Sutra. Vajra is another Sanskrit name. It stands for the most durable. It's the hardest substance. It sometimes is translated into English as diamond, which is incorrect. Because diamond is certainly not the hardest substance in the universe. Vajra is. Okay? Vajra is the kind of substance that the Buddhist, if you will, technology will enable you to create and realize through the Buddhist practice. And with this kind of substance, this Vajra substance is so hard that it is indestructible. So, for example, in the Buddhist practices, they have many practices that involve using the Vajra technology in the form of weapons. If you can form such a substance, you will. You can turn the substance into a form of weapon. And you wield the weapon and use it against your enemies or your opponents. Certainly you have a superior weaponry, and therefore you have better chance of winning in these contests. So for example, in a tantric technology, many of you have been exposed to Tibetan, you've been exposed to Tibetan people, right? The Tibetan people, they're mantras. They use the mantra technology. They use many of these mantras to command ghosts and spirits. And also, the Buddhist methodologies to hone these Vajra weapons. So the Buddhist tantric practices, I don't know if you've ever been exposed to such practices, texts, because texts is, have been coming here every single weekend for the last 3 years. From Van Nuys. Consistently, which is very remarkable. He came to us because he was interested in the Buddhist tantric practices. And I'm not sure you've been exposed to it. In Tibetans and many Buddhist practices work on these Vajra weapons. And that's why they're invincible when they go into fights. They usually win. It depends on the quality of the weaponry you wield, Yes?
Well, I know some Tibetan monsters. I never saw any teaching about any weapon. Never heard of that.
Yeah, that's why there's some secret practices that they're very advanced in Buddhism that most people don't know about. And it is for the very privileged, the elite people who are aware of it and they practice it. For example, my teacher, Rinpo Shenhua, who founded the City of 10,000 Buddhas, they up north. Some of you may have heard of it. In fact, Thomas just came back from that place, City of 10,000 Buddhas. So he taught us the technology called the tantric technology called the 42 hands and eyes, and that among which it has many Vajra weaponries. So that's what they use to compete against the opponents. So this is just like everything else. For example, in the human realm, where England or the U.S. or France needs to go and colonize a certain place, need to send out the army, the armed forces, right? So they need to send along the tanks and the airplanes and the cruisers and the navy and so on. Same thing in Buddhism or the other faith. When they need to go and do things and defend the territories, they need to have weaponry, no different than anyone else. So they have these tantric practices that Master Shenhua, my teacher, my late teacher, he taught us in our lineage, the 42 hands and eyes tantric dharma, which is have a lot of tantras, and we hone these weapons, okay, and that's what we use to defend for example, our way places against the unwanted elements, and so that's one. There is a kind of practices that is for the inner circle people to know, because we have those needs. That's why the general people are not aware of it. So, for example, going back to this sutra, and by the way, that technology, the 42 hands and eyes, it has Vajra weaponries and stuff like that. It's not the most powerful one. The most powerful one is something else that we were transmitted. So there are many different kinds of practices.
Okay, well that's what I want to learn. That's what I want to learn. Whatever the most
even
powerful.
us who have the privilege to learn this hands and eyes technology do not have enough blessings to learn about the other technologies. It's about blessings. You know, you learn these things, this knowledge, because you have enough blessings. Really, the bottom line is that you're rich enough to have access to that, like a private club. Okay, that. Like in Japan, you go to a golf course, you pay a membership of a few $100,000 for a membership, golf membership. It's an exclusive club. You must be able to afford it. Okay. Same thing. Yeah. Anyway, what about this Vajra Sutra? Why is it called Vajra Sutra? Vajra Sutra, in this sutra here, the Buddha explains how you can let go, how to shed. Okay, and that's how. By the way, that is the secret of working at this Vajra substance, this Vajra technology. Okay. Is perfected by learning to let go. Okay, that is the substance behind the Vajra Sutra. Okay, so in this particular sutra, the Buddha explains to his pupil, Venerable Subhuti. Subhuti is an arhat. That's we're talking about arhat here. Arhat is a high-level sage in Buddhism. In Buddhism, when you practice Buddhism. Buddhism is very, very precise. It says, in your practice, there are gradations of attainment. And one significant level of attainment is an arhat. You become an arhat. That is when you begin to have what is called transcendental wisdom. What is transcendental wisdom? Transcendental wisdom is the special knowledge that sages have that we don't. Meaning that they know things and that we don't. In particular, they are not as confused as we are. They are happier than we are. The lack of confusion is translated into happiness. Really. Okay, bottom line. Okay? So, Buddhism is not anything that is theoretical or too abstract. Actually, Buddhism is the purpose of Buddhism for us to teach Buddhism, especially the Mahayana Buddhism, which is the great vehicle Buddhism, which is all of the principles of Buddhism are contained within Mahayana. So when we teach Mahayana Buddhism, it's for the express purpose of helping everyone lead a better life and attain the ultimate knowledge, the ultimate wisdom. Okay? That of a Buddha. Okay? And so Mahayana, contrary to a lot of people have been saying, Mahayana is very, very optimistic. Mahayana says that you should not sell yourself short. You are a very special individual. You too have the Buddha nature. And you should not settle for anything less. If people tell you, you do this, do that because you want to attain this, and in Mahayana, we're saying that the ultimate accomplishment you can have is to become a Buddha. It's nothing more noble, it's nothing more worthwhile, it's nothing more rewarding, it's nothing more beneficial than becoming a Buddha. Okay? Because when you become a Buddha, this is the ultimate ultimate achievement that we can all have. Okay? And what the Buddha is saying is because he himself used to be like us, humans. He was a man. He was a prince. And he cultivated and he searched around for a teacher to find a way to end his suffering. He felt that he was not happy. He felt that there is this inherent suffering that is we all have to face. What is it? He realized that we all are suffering a slow death. You can't avoid it. Okay? So he says, being a king, I'm a crown prince, destined to become a king of a powerful king, on this earth. What's the point in becoming a king? The rest of my life, when ultimately I have to face the ultimate suffering, death. I can't put an end to death. So, because of that, then you may say, text, for example, in Chinese culture, a lot of Chinese emperors spend a fortune on sending his people to research the pill of immortality. You see? This is how the emperors of old realized that if I have everything in my power, then let me get something that will help me preserve my power, preserve my good life. So they send people all over the empire, looking for the answer, looking for a way to live forever, so that they continue to enjoy their blessings as an emperor. And unfortunately, they could find no answer. There's no immortality. And that's a digression, a diversion, to remind you that that kind of thinking is nothing new, because the Buddha, when he was in the world 3,000 years ago as a crown prince, he realized that I am about to become a king, a powerful king, and yet I cannot avoid the ultimate suffering, death. Okay? I cannot avoid the fact that my body is decaying right now. I'm suffering a slow death. Okay? And he was depressed. Like many of us today. Many of us also suffer manic depression. One day we feel depressed, and the next day we feel we are Jesus. Anyway, so he wasn't happy with the prospect of dying, and realizing no matter what he does, even no matter how enjoyable life could be, ultimately he was happy to die and suffer that fate. So he looked around for an answer to put an end to that suffering, that ultimate death. Okay, that continual decay of the human existence. Okay, and he saw that as a biggest challenge in life, if you would. Think about that. That's the kind of wisdom the Buddha used to have. You see, when I was growing up, my challenge was, besides getting my hormones under control, to earn a living, okay, and make a fortune. And then after I make a fortune, then maybe I do charity work and make myself feel better about my existence. That's about the extent of my wisdom, the wisdom I had. Okay? The Buddha, he was a crown prince who received the best education of the world, and he realized he chose a bigger problem to solve. That is, the biggest challenge there is to human existence. That's common not only to himself, but to all of us. That's the kind of wisdom he has. That's the kind of insight, foresight he has. He's a very special man. And yet, with all his smarts, he could not find the answer to it. Okay? He could not find the answer at all. After searching out and finding and studying under the best teachers in the world, and undertaking what is known back then as ascetic practices, which is the ultimate practice, to to find a solution, okay, to all suffering. Because back then, people were telling each other, no one found a solution yet. And the only way that we all know of, that everyone agreed with, that no one ever could succeed, is ascetic practices. So he practiced it for 6 years. Okay, eating 1 grain of rice and 1 grain of it's not corn, I can tell you that.
Sesame seed.
Sesame seed, thank you.
Yeah.
Something like that. So he starved himself to death. Every day, can you imagine, eat 1 grain of rice and 1 grain of wheat, not sesame seed. Okay, it's more nutritious than sesame seed. And for 6 years, so he became skin and bones. He didn't die. Most people would die. Think about the extraordinary strength of this man. He didn't die. Okay, when you eat 1 meal of grain of rice, and grain of wheat, kim deal, you don't have a lot of energy. Can you imagine? There's no sugar, there's no salt, there's no oil, there's no MSG for us Chinese. We hooked on MSG, if you don't know. For the Vietnamese, it's a nước mắm, okay, the fish sauce. For us, for some of you are Koreans, it's a kimchi, I think. Never mind, I'm digressing. Yeah. So if the diet he went through is pretty extreme, but you have to recognize the fact that you may not believe it or not, but the fact that he could subsist on so little nutrition shows you that his extraordinary level of self-control, of his skill level is pretty high, okay? And still, after 6 years of abusing his body, of punishing his body, of torturing his body, he realized that he's getting nowhere near to finding a solution. So he gave up. And what did he do? He started to meditate. The first thing he did is what? He ate a bowl of gruel made of rice and milk. And he recovered his strength. Okay. And what did he do after he recovered his strength? The message here is that you need to have balance in your life. See, I'm telling you the story of the life of Buddha because I have a lot of new visitors here today. I want to break you in and help you understand, give you some perspective where Buddhism, how Buddhism came about. And so the message the Buddha began to tell us is that in order to get to your goal, which he did, you must have balance in your life. You must be able to maintain balance in your life. Because if you lead an unbalanced life, imbalanced life, you will not be able to make it very far. So the Buddha went to the extreme of self-indulgence. As a crown prince, he could afford everything he wanted. He got everything he wanted. The girls, the drinks, the bulls, and the chariots, and the horses. Back then, the princes loved horses. You don't believe it or not. They love horses. Okay, they think it's the most beautiful things on earth. And so he had all these things he could indulge himself in. And then he went to the extreme of self-deprivation. Like 1 meal a day of 1 grain of rice and 1 grain of wheat. So you see the extreme he went through. He says, I went to both extremes. I said, this is not working. Either is not working. So he went back to the middle way. He says, you need to have balance. Middle way, in that concept, middle way that Buddhism stands for, is a concept of balance. It's not the middle. It's about balance. Okay? And that's how I explain the middle way. There's no middle. It's only balance. Okay? My interpretation of the middle way is balance. So, he went back to eating normally. So that's the first message, Roberta. You must have maintained balance in our existence, okay, in order to get to our goal. Okay, so far so good? Then what else did he do? Yes, in. Why you keep on stretching your nose and make me think like you want to answer me? I was so happy. Yeah. Meditation, folks. That's the second thing that he did. He ate one meal a day. He ate that bowl of rice gruel made of rice and milk. Okay? And he recovered his strength after all these years of self-punishment, self-torture. And then he went to a tree by a river and sat down and meditated. He says, I will meditate until I understand. Okay? That is such a powerful, powerful lesson right there. Number one, you have to have balance in your life. Maintain balance in your life. Have a proper nutrition. Okay? And number two, you have to take care of your brains, your wisdom life. Okay? So he sat down and meditated. So that's why the rest of us, in Buddhism, meditation school through the Chinese system of Buddhism is one of the major practices that the Buddhists take very seriously. They learn to meditate. So they have these meditation things, techniques and methodologies that they teach and they share with others. Okay. So the Buddha meditated he sat down and says, I will sit here, I will not get up until I understand. So he meditated, and one day he became enlightened. Okay? So that's the process. The process of meditation will enable us to comprehend. Okay? And after he became enlightened, became a Buddha, he started teaching. He first taught about Buddhism, the basic principles of Buddhism. And then he graduated as people understand about the basics, the foundation. He built gradually. And to the fourth stage of his teaching career, the fourth period is called the Prajna period. Prajna is Sanskrit for ultimate wisdom, the Buddha's wisdom. So during this Prajna period of 22 years, the Buddha explained about Prajna, the Prajna knowledge. And the Prajna knowledge is condensed. All the 22 years is condensed in this sutra called the Vajra Sutra. So this Vajra Sutra contains all the Buddha's wisdom on how to become a Buddha. So this is one of the very revered sutras in Buddhism, because it is, rumor has it, we tell each other that you cannot become a Buddha unless you understand this Vajra teaching, this Prajna teaching. See, if you understand Prajna and practice Prajna, you will accomplish the Vajra technology. Alright? So that's why we are investigating this Vajra Sutra. In fact, this Vajra Sutra is the one of the major sutras in the meditation school, the Chan school of Chinese Buddhism. Some of the Chan school, the Chan meditation school patriarchs advocate that you should recite this Vajra Sutra. Okay, just keep reciting it as a form of the practice, meditation practice. All right. Any questions? Thank you. Any questions today? Okay, very good. That's the background information about Buddhism. And if you have any questions in our lecture, feel free to ask questions. The things that bother you, things that are not clear to you. Our lectures are wide open. If you have any questions or anything that you like to understand, you need clarification, you want some clarification, we'll be glad to offer all of you at any time during the lecture our limited understanding, So if you don't understand, we tell you we don't understand. All right. So at this stage of the Vajra Sutra, the Buddha started explaining about a stage or accomplishment called Arhat. Arhat. We are on slide 273. Arhat is a Sanskrit term that has multiple meanings. It has 3 meanings. Number 1, it means worthy of offering. Okay. Number 2, it means killer of thieves. Number 3 is without birth. Okay. We also have another quirk. That is, we like to translate into different languages so that other people who are not fluent in English can also understand. So since I gave you some initial explanation in English about Buddhism, give you some perspective about where Mahayana Buddhism comes in, stands, or the Sutra stands. Since I start explaining the Sutra here, allow me time so that I can translate my explanation into Vietnamese. Okay. Part of the learning process in Buddhism is to develop patience. We patiently wait. All right. Có ngày này có một cái nhóm người mới vào, thành ra thầy bỏ một cái giờ nói tiếng Anh cho họ biết, giảng họ biết một cái đại khái, một tí về Phật giáo, tại sao Phật giáo nó hiện ra và giảng nghĩa, tại sao cái kinh Kim Cương này nó quan trọng, cái tầm quan trọng Kim Cương này, Kim Cang này trong cái giáo lý Đại thừa. Giảng cho đại khái cho mọi người biết rằng cái Kim Cang là quan trọng, tại vì Kim Cang này là cái kinh mà nó tóm tắt lại tất cả cái giáo lý của Bát Nhã mà Đức Phật đã bỏ 22 năm ra để mà dạy cho chúng sanh. Nó được tóm tắt lại trong một cái kinh này thôi. Thành ra kinh Kim Cang này rất là quan trọng. Cái thời Bát Nhã là cái thời thứ 4 mà Đức Phật dạy về giáo lý Phật giáo, mà quý vị mà nếu muốn thành Phật, muốn thành Bồ Tát thì phải hiểu cái giáo lý Bát Nhã. Cái thành Bát Nhã nó rất quan trọng. Và tất cả cái giáo lý này nó được tóm tắt trong cái kinh này, thành kinh Kim Cang là kinh rất là quan trọng trong Phật giáo. Thì tới kinh Kim Cang dân giảng cái phần kinh Kim Cang là cái kinh mà giảng để hoàn tất một cái chất tên là Kim Cang. Kim Cang là cái chất mà nó cứng nhất trong cái vũ trụ này. Mà chúng ta có thể luyện cái chất Kim Cang này bằng cách xả. Okay. Thì đang giảng tới cái phần kinh. Trong kinh là Phật giảng chúng ta nên xả. Cái xả hoài thành sẽ luyện thành cái thể chất Kim Cang này. Đang tới dẫn là cái phần là Phật đang giảng cho chúng sanh biết là ngài Tu Bồ Đề biết là tứ quả A La Hán là sao. Đang thầy trò với nhau đang bàn về cái tứ quả A La Hán. Tứ quả A La Hán là cái gì? Nó rất đặc biệt là tại vì mình giảng cái Kim Cang này, chúng ta giảng cái Kim Cang này để mà tóm tắt lại những cái lời dạy của ngài Lục Tổ nữa. Ngài Lục Tổ dạy rất tóm tắt, vỏn vẹn, cái kinh rất là cô đọng. Thành mình bỏ thì giờ mình giảng cái chi tiết để có ai thắc mắc gì để mà hiểu thêm về những cái lời dạy của ngài Lục Tổ khi mà ngài giảng cái Kim Cang này. Thì A La Hán là một cái trình độ mà tu hành có thể đắc tới, mà được gọi là thánh nhân, mà tại vì các ngài có được cái trí huệ xuất thế. Cái A-la-hán có 3 cái nghĩa. Thứ nhất là ứng cúng, thứ nhì là sát tặc, thứ ba là vô sinh. Okay. The Arhat, going back to English, the Arhat is a result, a cause. There is a consequence of planting the proper seeds. A-la-hán là cái quả của cái nhân. The seeds in Buddhism are planting the fruition, the accomplishment of fruition of arhatship is to become a left-home person. Một cái phương pháp để mà trồng cái nhân để thành A-la-hán quả là thành người xuất gia. Okay? You don't necessarily have, this is not, there are many more pathways to become arhat, to become an arhat. Còn có nhiều cách khác để thành A-la-hán. But the becoming a bhikshu it means a left-home person, is one of the major cause, very, very powerful cause, better quality seeds to become an arhat. Okay. Thành tỳ kheo là một trong những cái nhân mà nó tốt nhất để mà thành A-la-hán quả. Okay. As you become a monk or bhikshu, the bhikshu's profession is actually, he's a beggar, he's a mendicant. Cái người tỳ kheo là một cái người, cái nghề của ngài đó, cái người tỳ kheo đó là cái nghề khất sĩ. Okay. And because he goes around begging for the necessities of life, he doesn't earn it. Cái người khất sĩ đó là cái người mà đi ăn xin những cái nhu cầu của mỗi ngày. For example, the monk, if he needs to eat when he's hungry, he doesn't go out and hold a job so that he can make money, so that he can go and buy some bread or buy a meal, buy a Big Mac. Người khất sĩ là không phải là cái hành động của ngài, mấy người các vị đó không phải là khi mà cần nhu cầu hàng cần tiền để mà mua đồ ăn, cần đồ ăn đó, thì không đi làm việc để làm lương, lấy cái lương mà mua đồ ăn. Ngược lại, cái người khất sĩ là cái người đi ăn xin, tất cả những cái đồ mình cần đó, đều được người ta cho. So what happens is that the monk or the left-home person spend time begging for his necessities instead of earning for it. And that's part of the Buddha's wisdom in teaching his left-home disciples on how to become an arhat quicker. Đó là một cái bí mật mà Đức Phật dạy, cái phương pháp Đức Phật dạy, và cái bí mật đó để giúp cho những cái người đệ tử xuất gia đó thành A-la-hán sớm hơn. Please don't laugh. You know, there's a secret behind it all. Why the monks were taught to beg instead of earning a living. Có cái bí mật tại sao những cái người xuất gia bên Phật giáo không đi làm việc mà chỉ đi ăn xin thôi. Tại làm như vậy sẽ thành A-la-hán lẹ hơn. Because if you practice the mendicant ways of the Buddha as the Buddha taught, you can become an arhat quicker. That's the secret. That's the Buddha's wisdom, by the way. Okay? This is one of the quicker ways to become an arhat, is to become a left-home person. Okay? And một trong những phương pháp mà có thể đắc A-la-hán quả mà sớm hơn, lẹ hơn là làm người xuất gia. Okay? Enough commercials for our kind of lifestyle. Let me move on. Shall I? So, because you become a left-home person, you plant the seeds. And when you cultivate these special practices, trust me, there are secret practices that you don't know about. Nói cái vị biết. Những cái pháp môn mà tu hành này, cái người tại gia cái vị không có biết. Because we are not allowed to teach you. Okay? These are the special practices, okay, that pertain to our world. And because of these special practices, eventually, okay, you become an arhat and you become called worthy of offerings. Meaning, you go through this hard road of practice as a beggar, you know, trust me, you know, it happens to a lot of people. When you go around begging, people The children laugh at you. They throw rocks at you. They spit on you. Okay? It's a lot of hardship they need to endure, need to learn, to deal with. And throughout this road, and they get to the end result is they become an arhat. Then, at that point in time, they are called worthy, considered worthy of offerings. Meaning that they deserve to receive those offerings now. Okay? They become a sage. Therefore, it's very beneficial for people to come and make offerings to them. That's why they call worthy offerings. Meaning, it's extremely advantageous to find an arhat and make offerings to them. Extremely advantageous. Versus you make an offering to me, isn't a whole lot. Okay? But you make an offering to an arhat, a true arhat, then your rewards are so much greater. You have a bigger bang for the buck, if you will. Okay? The trick is to find that arhat. Okay? That's the trick. Okay? Okay? But if you found one, then it is incredible. Okay? The rewards are incredible. That's why he's called worthy offering, meaning that if you know he's an arhat, go and make an offering. You will not regret it. And then remember me, okay? That I tell you about it. And be nice to me. Okay? So that's why he's called worthy offering. Secondly, the cause as a bhikshu, as a mendicant, another thing we do as left-home people that we don't brag about, and now I'm sharing with you, because only in these conditions, circumstances, are we allowed to explain things to you. Otherwise, if we casually explain things to these kind of things, then it's like we're bragging. Okay? So allow me to brag a little bit about our lifestyle today. Okay? The second reason for becoming a monk or a beggar or a mendicant or a left-home person is that the left-home people are the people who take the vow to say, I will learn and devote my life to perfecting goodness. I want to be a good person. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Okay, let me translate in Vietnamese first. Thành ra cái nhân á, làm mà đi ăn xin như vậy là cuối cùng khi mà tu hành làm khất sĩ như vậy, tu hành cái pháp khất sĩ đó, thì một cái pháp rất đặc biệt để có thành cái quả A La Hán nó lẹ hơn. Khi mà đắc được cái quả A La Hán tới mục tiêu đó rồi thì được gọi là ứng cúng. Tại lúc đó cái người này mà tới cúng dường như một cái vị A La Hán đó, là cái phước đức, phước báo nó lớn không thể tưởng được, lớn cứ điển thể nào tưởng tượng được. Thành ra gặp A La Hán, tìm được người A La Hán mà cúng dường được, là sau này giàu dễ sợ, rất là giàu. Ok. Cái thứ nhì là bố ma. Ý nghĩa của cái tỳ kheo, chữ Phạn tỳ kheo là bố ma, có nghĩa là khi mà cái người mà xuất gia đó, cạo đầu xuất gia đó, khoác áo người cà sa này á, thì họ tu một cái pháp, thì cái pháp họ là họ nguyện, họ lập cái lời nguyện, họ nói là tôi sẽ bỏ cuộc đời của tôi, cống hiến cuộc đời cho tôi để trở thành một người lương thiện, một người tốt, người hoàn hảo. Thành ra họ tu cái pháp, họ cố gắng để mà họ thành một người hoàn toàn tốt. Thầy nói cho rõ, không phải ai cũng hoàn toàn tốt đâu. Cái người đi theo không phải ai hoàn toàn tốt đâu. Nhưng cái mục tiêu của họ là gạt những cái xấu mà chỉ còn giữ lại cái tốt thôi. Cái pháp họ tu là như vậy. Thành ra ngoài họ là bố ma. Tại cái ma là ác. Thành ra họ sợ những người tốt. Thành khi mà người ma mà nó nghe có người xuất gia họ rất là sợ. Họ nói tại trong tương lai cái người này cũng trồng cái nhân để thành người tốt, thành họ rất là sợ sệt. Okay. Thành bởi vậy tỳ kheo có nghĩa là bố ma. Okay. Thành người tỳ kheo là đang tu cái pháp mà khiến tụi ma nó sợ, dễ sợ, nó kính trọng, nó sợ, nó nể sợ. Okay. So let me make it clear for you. The bhikshu or a monk or a nun is a person who practices a way a process to refine themselves, like refining the gold. They take out the dross, all the impurities in gold. What's left is pure gold. That's what the Dharma, this is what the process, the methodology for the left form people. They purify themselves, and in the process purification, they become better and better and more perfect. When they perfect it, then they call killer of thieves. Okay. Now this when you become a left form person, because of your resolve to go towards goodness, the demons hear of it and they become frightened. Why? Because they realize that you're embarking on a journey towards goodness, which is will destroy their world. Therefore, they're very frightened. That's why a left form person is a frightener of Mara, meaning that he frightens the demons. Demons are afraid of goodness. Evil, by the way, the secret of evil, about evil is that evil is deep down afraid of goodness. They respect virtue and they are scared of good people. So good people do not have to be afraid of evil, by the way. That's the consequence of that. Does it make sense? Ta nói cho quý vị biết, giảng thêm một tí cho quý vị hiểu. Tại sao ma nó sợ, nó nể những cái người khất sĩ như vậy, người tỳ kheo như vậy? Tại vì cái bí mật của ma quỷ đó là họ sợ cái tốt. Trong cái thâm tâm của họ thầm nghĩ họ rất sợ cái tốt. Tại vì họ biết rằng cái tốt nó sẽ chinh phục được cái ác của họ. Okay. Cái cực tốt đó, nó sẽ chinh phục được cái cực ác. Thành họ rất sợ cái tốt. Và họ cái ma quỷ đó, họ kính phục cái người mà có đạo đức, sống đạo đức, họ rất kính phục. Thành nói ngược lại, thì cái người mà tốt đó, không có gì mà sợ, không cần sợ ma quỷ. Okay? Alright. So, you practice the Dharma, the refining process of purifying yourself, becoming more and more good. Then eventually, when you perfect that, you become an Arhat. Okay? And then at that time, you call killer of thieves. Why? Thì khi mà quý vị tu cái pháp này, pháp người xuất gia, để mà gạn lọc cái xấu xa, cái ô uế trong người, trong cái thân tâm mình, thì cuối cùng khi mà quý vị thành tựu cái pháp này thì quý vị sẽ được gọi là sát tặc, giết những kẻ ăn cắp. Tại sao? The thieves here refers. I'll explain it later in a later slice. The thieves here refers to the fact that you have a lot of afflictions, a lot of vexations, things you're unhappy. Let's face it, people are very unhappy. I notice that modern day people. I don't care how rich you are, you're still unhappy. Okay, I don't care how poor you are, you're still unhappy. I don't care how happy you are, you're still unhappy. Your happiness doesn't last very long. You're happy for a few minutes, for a few hours, and then you become unhappy again. Okay? So the unhappiness is rooted in the fact that you're afflicted. Okay? We explain that a little bit later. Okay? Tại sao là sát tặc? Sát tặc này, tặc là nói về những cái người kẻ ăn cướp. Ăn cướp là ai? Cái ăn cướp của chúng ta thì là thực sự là cái phiền não. Phiền não là gì? Phiền não là cái mà khiến quý vị cảm thấy cuộc đời mình thiếu hạnh phúc. Thầy để ý rằng thời buổi này, thời hiện đại này, đa số mọi người đều là thiếu hạnh phúc. Tại sao như vậy? Người giàu cũng thiếu hạnh phúc, người nghèo cũng thiếu hạnh phúc, người già cũng thiếu hạnh phúc, người trẻ thiếu hạnh phúc. Ngay cái người có hạnh phúc bây giờ đó cũng thiếu hạnh phúc. Tại sao vậy? Hạnh phúc quý vị có thể sung sướng được 5 tiếng đồng hồ, sau đó sẽ bất hạnh. cái cuộc sống nó thiếu hạnh phúc. Tại sao như vậy? Tại vì mình thiếu hạnh phúc là tại vì mình bị phiền não. Mình sẽ giảng tiếp phần sau. Okay? Number 3. If the cause to become a left-form person or a bhikshu is you are considered to destroy evil. Cái nhân thứ 3 là gọi là khi mà thành người tỳ kheo, tức gọi là thân tu cái pháp là phá ác. Okay? When you destroy evil is the worst things that you can imagine as evil. Then, if you're able to keep on working on this, remember this Vajra weapon I talked about? Okay? There's a purpose why we do all these things. We hone these Vajra weapons so that we can use it to destroy the worst evil. Does it make sense? We don't hone Vajra substance in order to put it on eBay and get the best price out of it. We don't. We use these Vajra things, these Vajra weaponry, to conquer evil, to smash evil, because evil cannot resist it. That's why they're afraid of goodness. By the way, Vajra is perfected by pure goodness. That's how Vajra comes into existence. Quý vị biết không? Phá ác là sao? Ác là những cái gì nó tồi tệ lắm. Thành ra phá ác là mình có một cái kỹ thuật để mà phá ác. Hồi nãy mình giảng trong tiếng Anh sơ là cái kim cang là một cái chất liệu nó rất là cứng, nó phá tất cả mọi gì, không có gì nào cứng hơn nữa. Thành ra một trong những cái pháp mà tu của bên Phật giáo là luyện cái thể con là thể kim cang này thành những cái vũ khí. Là khi vì dùng cái vũ khí, những cái chùy kim cang, những cái búa kim cang, cứ vì dùng cái búa này mà đánh vào những cái tụi ma quỷ đó, thì tụi ma quỷ mà lâu đài của nó, xe tăng của nó, mấy cái mộc của nó, tụi nó cũng có những cái kỹ thuật nó rất là cứng, nhưng đều khi mà gặp những cái vũ khí kim cang mà đánh vào những cái vũ khí của nó đó, là vũ khí nó bị bể hết, bị hư hết, thành kim cang. Tụi nó sợ kim cang dễ sợ lắm, thành những cái vũ khí mà bên Phật giáo luyện ra thành kim cang rồi đánh vào tụi nó, rồi tụi nó chạy, nó bể nó chạy hết, thành mới gọi là phá ác. Ok. Thành cái quả của cái phá ác đó, tu cái pháp phá ác đó. Ok. Thầy giảng tiếng Anh mà phải nói cho rõ về tiếng Việt cho quý vị hiểu. Cái kim cang làm sao nó cứng như vậy? Nó cứng như vậy tại vì nó là cái cực tốt. Cái cực tốt nó phá được cái cực ác. Ok. Tại kim cang chỉ có thể luyện thành khi mà quý vị thành cực tốt thôi. Còn quý vị còn một tí ác trong đó không thể nào thành cái kim cang này được. Rồi. Khi mà quý vị mà tu cái pháp này mà thành pháp phá ác này thì cái quả nó gọi là vô sanh. Vô sanh có nghĩa là thoát được cái tử rồi, không còn sợ cái chết nữa. Okay. This is maybe what you're looking for after gabbing away for an hour. I'm coming full circle. Okay. Thomas now is paying attention. He's not even sleeping at all right now. Because he just came back from the City of 10,000 Buddhas, which I recommend all of you to go and pay a visit. A very special place, isn't it? It's very hot up there as well. You're not missing much. But he came back from a visit in the City of 10,000 Buddhas. Apparently, he learned something good. Because every weekend when we lecture on Sunday afternoon like this, he would go, and he would pass out. Literally, every single week. So the last few weeks, he would not eat lunch. He said he blames on lunch. This is just between us girls. Okay. He blames it on others for his problems. We true Buddhists don't do that. Never mind. So he blames on lunch, so he wouldn't eat lunch. But today, because we have so many nice visitors here, so he ate a heavy lunch. And yet, look at him. He's still wide awake. Why? Because we're talking about the AHA technology. This guy is very smart. He says, that's what I want to learn. No one explains it like that. No one explains the AHA technology like this way before. So I want to learn about this. So that's why he's awake. Normally, he falls asleep. Okay. Normally, my lecture is very, very boring, to tell you the truth. To him, at least. Yes?
It's not just that.
What is it?
It's the girl.
Oh! Shh, that's our secret. I'm not going to translate that into Vietnamese. Yeah. Yeah, we need attention to ourselves. I need attention too. I have these many girls paying attention, and I'm wide awake myself. All right. Thầy giảng thêm là cái kết quả là vô sanh. Tại sao cái người A La Hán thoát cái vòng sanh tử rồi, không còn chết, không còn sợ chết. Cả vì cái người A La Hán, quý vị biết không, sống bao lâu cũng được hết, không còn chết nữa. Muốn sống bao nhiêu cũng được hết, muốn chết lúc nào cũng được hết, không còn sợ tử thần nữa. Okay, we come full circle because the arhat here, the cause of becoming an arhat is that you are without birth. Okay? Number 3, without birth. What is without birth? Without birth really means that you can live as long as you wish. You can die anytime you want. This is the pill of impermanence, the pill of longevity. Okay? This is what the Taoists practice and tout the Taoist technology as immortality. But their immortality is still limited by 10,000 years, 20,000 years maximum. And there are such people, by the way, who have accomplished Taoist technology. Explain to Ru Ching, because I know she's a Taoist deep down. And so the Taoist, by the way, now today you learn another thing about Taoist technology. The Taoists, they tout the technology as immortality. That's why back then, by the way, the Chinese emperors of old also studied Taoism and then trusted a lot of Taoist monks because they were promised immortality themselves if they practice and they follow them. Okay. Thành ra cái vô sanh này nó liên quan tới cái ý nghĩa đó là không còn sanh tử nữa, có nghĩa là cái vị trường sinh này có nghĩa là cái vị muốn sống bao nhiêu cũng được, muốn chết lúc nào cũng được. Okay? Nó khác cái trường sinh của bên đạo giáo. Cái đạo giáo cũng có cái pháp tên là pháp trường sinh. Họ cũng có hiệu nghiệm nói á, họ tu pháp trường sinh của họ. Theo ông thầy của tôi biết, dạy cho biết á, bên đạo giáo người ta tu như vậy, ta có thể sống tới 10.000 năm tới 20.000 năm. Và có rất nhiều người đạo sĩ đã đạt được cái trình độ đó rồi. Rất là nhiều. Okay? Nhưng đều họ không phải trường sinh, họ không thể sống vô tận đâu. Họ sống vẫn già, giới hạn như thường. Thì họ sống lâu hơn chúng ta thôi. Nhưng đều bên Phật giáo mình khi quý vị thành A-la-hán thì quý vị thành vô sinh, chứ không phải là trường sinh nữa. So the difference between yes the difference between the Buddhist long life and the Taoist long life is that the Arhat technology, the Arhat level, they can live forever. The Taoist level can live up to 20,000 years, something like that. Okay? You heard it from here, from me. Okay? So when you become a Taoist, okay, remember me, that I introduced you to Taoism. The Buddhists are very embracing. If that's what you're looking for, a life of 20,000 years, it's easier to attain that than to become an arhat. Frankly, really. Much easier. Now Ian is interested. She tells herself, I wonder what kind of Taoist books I should be reading. Okay. If that's what you're interested in doing, by all means, go for it. You have to pursue what interests you. That's what makes life interesting, I think. So, that's the Buddhist mindset. We're very all embracing. Whatever suits you, whatever makes sense to you, go for it. Okay? Find something important to do in life. That's our attitude. That's my attitude. Okay. Anyway, so the technology for the long life in Buddhism is that the objective ultimately is to be free from birth and death. That's how we consider impermanence. That is, we are no longer subject to birth and death. Okay? Now you're saying, now these Buddhists are crazy. How is it possible? Well, that's what the Buddhist teaching is about. He said, don't sell yourself short. You too can be like that. Okay? Thành ra cái Phật giáo là thầy mới giới thiệu quý vị biết về cái pháp bên Đạo giáo, người ta có thể sống 20.000 năm, 10.000 năm, tại vì người ta có cái phương pháp để mà tu được cái trình độ như vậy. Thành ra thì quý vị hiểu cái tinh thần về Phật giáo là rất là bao dung. Nếu mà cái gì mà tu được cái pháp đó thì cứ tu đi, đâu có sao đâu. Okay. Cái quan trọng là mình tìm một cái gì để cho cuộc đời nó có ý nghĩa, nó có lý. Đừng có phí cuộc đời chúng ta. Từ từ quý vị sẽ thấy là cái tu cái pháp Đạo giáo nó dễ hơn cái pháp Phật giáo. Pháp Phật giáo là vô sinh, Đạo giáo chỉ là trường sinh thôi. Cái Đạo giáo bên Phật giáo mình là vô sinh, có nghĩa là mình không còn bị luân hồi, mình không còn bị sanh tử. Nó khó hơn nhiều. Nó khó hơn gấp vàng, gấp trăm, gấp triệu, gấp tỷ lần. Nhưng đều nó thành vô sinh. Okay? Routine. You understand now? Okay? Okay. The Buddhist technology is slightly better than your Taoist technology. It is much harder too. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. I'm going to move on to slide 274. Okay. You realize I should spend an hour and 40 minutes talking one slide. This is why we go this is very fast for us. And in case you haven't noticed, you can't read it. We are on slide 274 and we have a total of 802 slides and still counting. This is why, and this is fast for us because no one has asked a question yet today. Well, except one question today. You wait until people ask questions. Sometimes we can spend 2 hours in our lecture, lecturing on 2 bullets. We couldn't even finish one slide. So today is very, very fast. Alright, we are on slide 74. The Arhat is a killer of thieves. The thieves are affliction. Người A-la-hán, ở cái tấm 274, người A-la-hán là một cái vị mà sát cái tặc của phiền não. There is a level higher called Bodhisattva. Có một cái trình độ mà cao hơn, gọi là trình độ của Bồ Tát. At that level, not only does the Bodhisattva kills thieves, but he also kills which is not a thief, called ignorance. Có trình độ cao hơn là Bồ Tát, cao hơn nhiều. Thì người Bồ Tát đó cũng là sát tặc, giết những cái phiền não, nhưng được còn giết những cái mà không phải là phiền não, tên gọi là vô minh. Okay? Why? Bullet number 3. For arhats, the ignorance is not considered a thief. Because the Arhat doesn't recognize that he's ignorant yet. That's why he's not worried about it. That's a secret. Okay? There's a reason for the fact that the Arhat is not concerned about ignorance. Because he's not aware he's ignorant. Does it make sense to you? Okay? Cái Ngài Bồ Tát đó là khác người A-la-hán. Tại sao? Cái Ngài A-la-hán đó, mặc dù có trí huệ rất là tuyệt vời. Nhưng điều Ngài A-la-hán không có ưu tư về cái vô minh của Ngài. Ngược lại, người Bồ Tát rất lo lắng về cái vô minh của mình. Tại sao khác biệt như vậy? Quý vị biết không? Theo thầy nghĩ, cái sự khác biệt tại cái người A-la-hán không biết mình vô minh, thành không có sợ. Ngược lại, cái người Bồ Tát biết mình vô minh, thành sợ vô minh của mình. You see, the difference between a bodhisattva, that level of understanding of wisdom, versus the level of understanding of an arhat, is that the bodhisattva realizes that he's afraid that his ignorance will make him commit mistakes. Okay? And that's why he's afraid of his ignorance. He wants to get rid of his ignorance. Whereas the Arhat is not even aware that he's ignorant. That's why at times, very often the Arhat makes mistakes. He does not even aware he's making mistakes. That's why he's not afraid of ignorance. He's not worried about ignorance. The Bodhisattva is preoccupied with ignorance. That's why he thinks about all day long. Where am my ignorance? How do I get rid of my ignorance? Okay? It's fair to put things in perspective because for ordinary people like like us, we're not even worried about affliction, are we? We're worried about, the leg pains. I've been sitting here for an hour and 10 minutes now, 15 minutes. Why is it still hurting so much? Okay? We're afflicted. Okay? I said, is there an end to this? Why? Why is it so difficult? Okay? We are afflicted. So we are so preoccupied with our own affliction that we don't even worry about birth and death. Think about it. We're so worried about feeling good. So we say, birth and death, that's a bigger problem. Let me worry about it later. Okay? Now I'm worried about feeling good. Okay? Getting my fill. Okay? Going to the movie. Going to the beach on a hot day like today. And having ice cream. Sounds familiar? We're going to go have some ice cream afterwards. I guarantee you that. I'm just like you. I'm worried about my afflictions. Alright? So this is the difference between the bodhisattvas and, let me explain that in Vietnamese. Thành ra, cái người Bồ Tát nó khác cái người A-la-hán chỗ đó. Người Bồ Tát là cái người mà sợ, đừng lo ưu tư về cái vô minh của mình. Tại vì còn vô minh sẽ tạo nghiệp. Thành người Bồ Tát sợ cái vô minh của mình. Người A-la-hán không có lo vô minh tại vì chưa, nhiều khi tạo nghiệp mà không biết mình tạo nghiệp của mình. Ok? Cái khác biệt nữa là mình phải nhìn cho nó rõ ràng. Những cái người phàm phu chúng ta đó, thì chúng ta còn tệ hơn nữa. Người A-hán còn sợ sanh tử, còn phàm phu chúng ta chỉ lo sung sướng thôi. Trời nóng thì muốn ra ngoài biển, còn đi ăn cà rem mà nó muốn sung sướng, chứ còn sanh tử thì cái chuyện nó còn lâu dài quá, mình lo sau, mình tính sau. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, so the Arhats, even though they understand about affliction, put an end to affliction, but they don't understand the deeper level of afflictions. They all originate from ignorance. Yes, any questions? Yes.
I just had a question about the Arhat's ability to live forever.
Yes.
Is that literally that one physical body, or could it be that the Arhat no longer has a self, so you can't really identify the Arhat with that body? So if the body might die, but the Arhat can't per se say that Arhat has died. It's no longer a direct link to the body.
No. The the arhats can live in that same body forever.
But won't, for instance, the entire world system is going to end. This whole world will end.
Right.
How could the arhat's body survive that?
They get moved to a different world when this world ends. They get transferred.
Yeah.
Those who are supposed to die, okay, they die. Those who are not supposed to die, when this world is destroyed, they move to a different world temporarily. Okay. And then they continue there until the next world is created, the world recreated again, then they move back. Because if you think about the law of cause and effect, okay, which governs everything in this universe, if you're not supposed to die yet, you cannot die. You should not be dependent on the world you live in. Okay? So you simply you migrate. Actually, it's just like those CIA operations. They move you to a different country, and then after they're done with you, they move you back, bring you back. Okay? Something like that. Okay? So that's how it works. Câu hỏi là cái người A-la-hán sống vô tận như vậy có nghĩa là sao? Sống cái thân này là thân khác, nó sống trong cái thân này. Có nghĩa là cùng một cái thân này thôi, mà Ngài sống có thể sống hoài. Thì câu hỏi là nếu như vậy, khi thế giới này khi nó bị phá hoại đó, thì làm sao sống vô tận được? Thì thầy mới giảng nghĩa cho ông này biết là khi mà cái thế giới này á, nó bị hủy hoại đó, thì cái người A-la-hán á, tứ của A-la-hán được dời đi qua một cái thế giới khác tạm thời để sống ở đó, rồi đến khi mà thế giới này nó được hoàn thành lại, được tạo lại, thì họ được dời lại thế giới này để tiếp tục sống. Ok, cái đó là theo cái luật nhân quả. Tại cái luật nhân, nếu mà cái nhân mà họ còn sống được, cái quả họ còn sống được, thì họ không cần lệ thuộc vào cái thế giới này. Họ được tiếp tục cái thế giới khác, sống thế giới khác, rồi được chuyển về lại thế giới này. Any other questions? Yes.
那如果说他的不生不死、不生不死的时候，他的身体呢，好像一个人生来讲的时候，他是变成了金刚不坏身的。
Somewhat. It's a more complicated and I'm not sure that I tell you the truth. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure I have the full picture of what it is. Okay. The question is that I forgot to translate the question for you. The question is that if you take an arhat has an endless life, limitless life, then meaning he never dies in this body. Does that mean his body becomes indestructible? I said yes, from some aspects. Okay. And I must confess that I'm not sure I understand it fully. Okay. So don't take my answer as absolute. Okay. I will tell you what I know, okay, what I understand, but doesn't mean I can, I don't know the entire picture. Okay. Câu hỏi là nếu như mà sống người A-la-hán, tứ của A-la-hán mà sống mà vô tận như vậy, thì có nghĩa là cái thân mình, cái thân này thành cái thân kim cang bất toại là sao? Thì nói về cái phương diện đó có thể gọi là cái thân kim cang bất toại. Nhưng thiệt ra thầy cũng hoàn toàn hiểu rõ. Thầy sẽ cố gắng giảng tại vì cái gì thầy hiểu thôi. Okay. What does it mean that have an endless life? One aspect of endless life. Okay. Một cái phương diện về cái cuộc sống vô tận là như vậy. It's like this. Okay. Right now, ordinary people, okay, they have no control over how long you can live. Okay, meaning that, let's say, the average lifespan for Americans in this country, I think is around 87 for female, and 84, 82 for male. Is it too high?
I have no idea what it is.
Well, let's hope it's that good, okay? I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. Okay? So there's limitation. Okay? There's a limit. This is when your time comes, the death emissaries will come and bring you to, and take, and haul you away. In handcuffs. Make sure you don't run away. You can't run away with these folks when they come. Trust me. No matter who you are. Okay? And so the arhat is life is endless because these death emissaries do not dare come near the arhat. They cannot find the arhat, by the way. They can't find it. The arhat becomes invisible to them. So the death emissary said, our record says, Tex Beaumont, aka Mr. Singer, it's time for him to die. He has been 154 years now. How come he's not here yet? So let's find someone to go look for him. And so they sent 2 death emissaries. They come in pairs, by the way. They send these people out and say, the last known address, according to the FBI files, is England. They don't know about the Van Nuys thing yet. Okay? So they send people to England, and then they investigate, and the ex-wife, they found his ex-wife who says, you idiots, he's in Van Nuys. I just talked to him. She might do that, won't she?
She might, yeah.
She might, okay. So they flew to Van Nuys. Some women are known to do that. Ex-wives are known to do that. Why you shake your head? Grow up. Not funny, huh? Not funny. So they go to Van Nuys. And then when they go to Van Nuys, what happens? They cannot see him. They can't find him. Okay? Can't find him. That's one way. Another way is that one day Tex, I'm telling you a lot of scenarios. This is so many permutations. That's why I don't know them all. Okay? Another possibility is that they found him. That one day Tex has one drink too many. He says, and he forgot about his invisibility potion. He forgot to put it on when these guys come. I'm kidding. And so they handcuff him. Bring him in front of the judge who decides when we die. Okay? There's such a thing. In Buddhism, we explained it to you. He is called King Yama. He's a judge of death and birth, meaning he decides each of us, like in how long she lives this life. He decides that, no one else. Or he can extend it. Just like any other judge. Okay? Now you know another Buddhist technology. Okay? You bribe the judge. You may have a chance. Okay? For longer life. So that's my technology for long life. Instead of working hard like the Taoists do, I save money to bribe the judge. I think it's more effective. It's easier. Something I understand. Okay. Never mind. Don't let me digress for too long. I tend to digress. You notice that. So anyway, brings him in front of the judge called King Yama. And King Yama says, Your Highness, what have you guys done? Free him! Let him go! And he bows to the 4th stage arhat. He says, you no longer under my jurisdiction. You can live as long as you want. That's a fact. Okay. Thành có nhiều cái trường hợp lắm. Chẳng hạn như thành bởi thầy biết hết tất cả những cái trường hợp. Trường hợp thứ nhất là cái người sứ giả mà của tử thần đó, họ gửi tới một cặp họ gửi tới. Biết tại sao một cặp không? Một đứa bên tay phải, đứa bên tay trái, nó kẹp nó nách mình chạy không được đấy. Xong nó còng tay mình nữa. Không cách nào mình chạy nó được hết. Ok. Cái này thầy thêm tí. Kim Điền thầy thêm tí, để ý không? Nhiều khi thầy thêm tí Việt Nam cho nó mắm muối cho nó ăn nó mặn mà hơn tí.
This is the fourth stage arhat we're talking about.
Yeah,
today.
fourth stage arhat.
Not a first or second.
The first two thirds still are subject to birth and death.
Right.
Only the fourth is free from it.
Okay.
So, thành tới cái tứ quả đó, mới thoát được tử thần. Tới cái tứ quả rồi thì cái người sứ giả tử thần đó không thể nào tìm thấy người A La Hán được. Tới là người A La Hán tan hình, họ thấy được, họ kiếm ra. Thành cách họ bắt còng tay ông này được. Cái trường hợp thứ nhì là có thể như khi cái ông tứ quả A La Hán bữa đó ngủ gật, thành sứ giả tử thần nó tới mà mình tàn hình không kịp. Thành nó bắt nó còng tay lại dẫn tới trước kinh vua Diêm Vương. Thì Diêm Vương lập tức chạy xuống nói là tụi bay đừng có lộn xộn, đừng có hỗn với vị tứ quả A La Hán này. Cái ngài A La Hán này á là không còn dưới cái sự cai quản của tôi nữa. Ngài đã thoát sanh tử, ngài muốn sống bao nhiêu sống, muốn chết lúc nào cũng được. Okay? That is what is meant by that. It turns out, by the way, according to Buddhist technology, King Yama, Buddhist wisdom, King Yama is the person who decides how long we live. As long as he does not dare touch the fourth stage arhat, he can live as long as he wants. Okay? Because King Yama says, this is why you die, and you take on the next body. He decides that. Okay? No one else. Okay? So, the fourth stage arhat no longer is subject to his decision. That's why he can live forever, if he wants to. Does it make sense? Okay. Thế ngài Diêm Vương là cái vị quan tòa mà quyết định chúng ta sống bao lâu. Là một khi mà quý vị mà không còn dưới cái sự lãnh vực, cái quyền hành của ngài Diêm Vương nữa, thì quý vị sống bao lâu cũng được. Đó là cái cảnh giới người tứ quả La Hán. Sơ quả cho tới tam quả vẫn chưa thoát được cái quyền hành của Diêm Vương. Any questions about that? Yes.
So, can you also decide when you want to die?
Yes. The Arhat says, I die, he dies. Actually, you meditate. There's a technology, there's a technique where you can die at will as well. You say that, I fell out of love. Life is not worth living anymore. Since I have meditation skills, since my love left me. So, In can relate to that. I don't know why she's laughing so much. And Kim Dean too. I can say that Kim Dean have a hard time controlling herself as well. Okay, so you decide, you say life is not worth living anymore. You have a technique where you actually don't need to kill yourself. Physically, you actually can die. Okay? So that's why the meditators, the Chan patriarch, they can die at will. Okay? Because they, for example, they sit down and say, okay, I'm leaving in 5 minutes. Okay? Last chance for your last questions. You got 5 minutes. And so, and then 5 minutes is up, they die. And they can use this technique when they die, for example. Or, some of them are more like a show off. They would say, everyone is, showing off by sitting down and dying and leaving like that. So they said, I'm gonna die while standing up. So they stand up and say, okay, you have 6 minutes. I'm more generous than my predecessor. So they die. Or some other, even a bigger show off. They say, what's the big deal about standing and lying? It's too simple. So they say, I'm gonna die hanging from a tree. So they hop on a tree and they say, goodbye everyone, and they die. Physically by the way. If you practice your meditation, your Chan practices every Saturday, one day, I might teach you that technique. Just in case. Just in case. Just like everything else, right? I mean, it's just have if the arhats can die at will, then certainly the Buddhists must have some knowledge on how to do it, because they become arhats through Buddhist technology, right? I'm very logical. Yes. Yes, a big difference. The difference, let me put it this way for you. The difference is in the amount of pain you experience. Okay? Let me translate in the Vietnamese. This section is important about death. Yeah. Bên cái người Phật giáo, người A-la-hán có cái phương pháp gọi là chết. Ngài muốn chết lúc nào được hết. Có cái phương pháp khi quý vị thiền tới trình độ nào đó rồi, quý vị biết cách chết. Muốn chết là chết ngay, là chết được. Có phương pháp. Thì mấy tổ sư đời xưa đó, họ nói là ngồi xuống tắm, đắp áo, mặc áo mới vào, áo sạch sẽ vào. Nói 5 phút thầy sẽ ra đi. Hoặc có người 5 phút sau họ chết. Hoặc là họ áp dụng cái kỹ thuật đó. Hoặc có người nói là ngồi, có bao nhiêu tổ sư đều ngồi chết, xoàn quá thôi, nhưng mà đứng mình chết. Họ đứng mà chết cũng được nữa. Hoặc có người khác còn làm lòe hơn nữa. Họ trèo lên cây á, họ leo lên cây nói đu lên cành cây xong ta chết. Họ cũng chết được lương nữa. Thành có cái kỹ thuật để mới chết. Cái thiền đó. Tại sao như vậy? Cái gì không cần phải đa nghi. Tại vì nếu như Phật giáo có cái kỹ thuật để mà thành A-la-hán thì cái kỹ thuật chết, cái sống đâu có gì đặc biệt đâu. Ok, có câu hỏi khác là cái sự khác biệt giữa tự tử với là tự động chết nó khác nhau giữa nào? Thì thầy trả lời rằng á, khác nhau ở cái trình độ đau đớn. Khi mà mình tự tử nó đau lắm. Trước khi mình chết mình đau. Còn cái người á mà A-la-hán khi người mà có kỹ thuật chết đó, người ta không có đau đớn gì hết. Tự tử như vậy nó dễ hơn nhiều. Nó sung sướng hơn nhiều. Nó nhẹ nhàng hơn. I just gave the Vietnamese answer, but my only Vietnamese person here is not impressed. Normally, in such a revelation or such a secret, you'd have people applauding and say, wow, this is such a beautiful Buddhist technology. And they applaud. I stand up and then take a bow and say, yes. But the Vietnamese, they're boring. So it's up to you now, the rest of you, okay? The difference between suicide and that way to end your own life is the lack of pain. Because when you kill yourself, before you die, it's a pain. There's a pain. You experience pain, don't you? Whether you take those sleeping pills, it's very painful. Or you slit your throat, or you shoot yourself, or you drink yourself to death. It's still pain, right? But what's so funny about it?
That doesn't sound very good.
Well,
but I would have said that the big difference is that people that commit suicide kill themselves out of confusion and misery.
Mm-hmm.
That's a totally different thing than an arhat deciding it's time for him to do something else, to get rid of the body that he has.
That's the loftier side of it. I'm more concerned about pain right now.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Who cares about that?
Who cares about that? You're too lofty for me. I'm being realistic. Yes. I mean, there must be something that's, to me, makes more sense to have another option for death that is painless.
Okay.
I'm kidding. So the suicide usually has a pain. You experience pain before you die. Whereas the other option is the absence of pain, is a total control. Okay?
Yeah.
So, but your point is well taken. Absolutely. Yes. The suicide, when you kill yourself, by the way, those who are considering doing it, I don't advise you to. Okay? If you decide to kill yourself, you know what happens? Okay, another Buddhist secret I'm going to share with you. I'm in such a good mood today. I'm sharing so many Buddhist secrets. If you kill yourself like that, for example, the Golden Gate Bridge, okay? You know that there are a lot of people jump off the bridge to kill themselves, okay? Or you ask the Vietnamese, when I was growing up in Vietnam, people have been known to kill themselves because, they're lost their loves. It's one reason. Actually, it happened a lot in Vietnam when I was growing up. Or they have no money and they don't feel like living anymore. They would step in front of the bus and get smashed. It's very, very ugly. Can you imagine trying to clean up the road? Oh, I'm being gross. Oh well, they're not impressed. But here's what I'm trying to tell you. When you kill yourself like that, okay, what happens is that in the overwhelming majority of the cases, these people turn into a state called ghost, and they haunt that area. Yes, what you heard, the rumors are true, meaning that some places are haunted. For example, cemeteries. There are a lot of ghosts in the cemeteries. Or the Asians, you ask the Taiwanese, the people who drive on the freeway and they die on the freeway, and then the family or the stranger stop by and erect some kind of small memorial for them. That's where they hang out. That's their home now. They become ghosts and they haunt those places. Did you know that That's a Chinese technology. That's how they provide housing for the ghosts. It's an act of mercy if you ask them. Really. They become attached to it and that becomes a house. Isn't that interesting? So please, for you who are born in this country, who come from the Western technology, keep an open mind. The world is so much more than as you know it. Okay? This is why when we explain Dharma, the Buddha Dharma to you, we try to help you understand more and more and more, expose you to more things. The world is so much broader than you think, than the scientists realize. Okay? So you have to learn. Part of Buddhism is to promote keeping open mind, because the world is a lot richer than you think. It's a lot more multidimensional than you think. Okay? So, I reiterate, when people kill themselves like that, they're through suicide, they tend to be a ghost, and they haunt that area. What for? Because what they do, for example, this is what related to me by my teacher, the late Venerable Shenhua, who founded this city of 10,000 Buddhas. Let me translate into Vietnamese before I forget. It's a long story. Cái chuyện mà thầy muốn kể cho mình nhắc cái gì quan trọng là tức là cái chuyện nhiều khi nghe nó hơi hoang đường tí, đều không hoang đường như cái tưởng đâu. Nghe cái thế giới này nó rộng lắm, nó có nhiều cái khía cạnh mà mình chưa biết được. Quý vị biết sự khác biệt của cái tự tử với cái người tự tử đó, thường nó thành quỷ. Cái con quỷ nó bị kẹt vào cái chỗ nó đang chết. Cái chỗ nó tự tử đó nó thành con quỷ và nó ám ảnh cái chỗ đó. Càng như bên người Đài Loan, người Việt Nam mình đó, cái vì lái trên mấy cái đường công lộ đó, có mấy cái miếu đầy miếu ấy, và mấy người bị xe ta chết tai nạn xe cộ đó. Đấy là cái miếu đó là cái nhà của mấy con quỷ đó. Là người bị chết tai nạn đó thành con quỷ và họ sống ở đó luôn đó. Họ ám ảnh mấy cái chỗ đó, ở cái chỗ đó họ rình để làm cái gì? Tại vì phải trở lại tiếng Anh để cái vị suy nghĩ họ làm cái gì. Now going back to the English listeners, what for? What are they doing? Here's what happens. This is I will tell you a Buddhist story that there was a doctor who took a swim. Okay? And he is a very good swimmer his entire life. He loved to swim. And one day he went to that river and he swam. And he found out that he almost drowned because he couldn't swim. He froze and like someone was pressing him down. So he yelled, he pushed up, he swam up and then he said, "Help, help, help." And so his sons came and they swam out and dragged him to the shore. Okay? And then he's Buddhist, of course. That's why I wouldn't know about this unless he's Buddhist, right? Okay, let me translate the Vietnamese. Có cái câu chuyện, có ông bác sĩ kia đang tắm sông, ông này ông bơi rất là giỏi, mà ông tắm sông bỗng nhiên chân tay nó cứng lại, bơi không được nữa, giống như có người đứng đè xuống như vậy. Cái ông ngột thở quá, ông thở không được, ông vội lên, ông la hét, ông nói cứu bơi. Khi mấy người con trai bơi ra, kéo vào sông. Okay. Thì cái người này là người Phật tử, thì bởi thầy mới biết cái chuyện này, đúng không? Thì Phật tử nào nói là mới tới hỏi với ông thầy. So he went to his Buddhist teacher, a monk, a very good monk, you ask me. And he says, this is what happened to me. And this happened to be an arhat. See, today's theme. I tie all these stories, anecdotes to the theme of arhatship. Thì hôm tới gặp người thầy, một vị sư đó, vị sư là tứ quả A-la-hán. Vị sư này nói cái nhìn biết cái quá khứ. So he says, what happened is that a ghost who haunted that water right there was trying to kill you, was trying to drown you. Okay? So ông A-la-hán mới kể, nói là ông mở mắt ra, thiên nhãn nhìn, nói cái chỗ đó là có con quỷ đó nó tính dìm cho ông chết đuối. So the man says, but I don't know the ghost, why would he want to kill me? Thì ông bác sĩ mới nói là làm sao mà con đâu có quen con quỷ, sao con quỷ nó đòi giết con? You know what the arhat says? Not a he, it's a she. Nói là không phải là cái con quỷ đực mà con quỷ cái. Kim there, control yourself. She aggressive already. It's his ex-wife. It's true. This is a true story in the Buddhist annals. Đó là vợ cũ của ông. Cô Kim liền cô cười khúc khích vậy ghê. Đó chưa kể chuyện là biết cái câu chuyện rồi. So it's his ex-wife. You see now? Look at him. Everyone. Once I go beyond the fourth stage, Thomas goes back to his old self and says, everything is boring now. So mercenary. So what happened, the arhats then explained to him and says, this is your ex-wife from a long, long time ago. He says, a long, long time ago. Ông A-la-hán mới kể, text misses out on the ex-wife story. Tough luck. You have to listen to the MP3 file now. It says, a long, long time ago, many, many lifetimes ago. Only the arhats will know these stories because the arhats can know the prior lives. Okay? He knows, he has a spiritual penetration. He has a lot of special knowledge. He sees the past. So he says, in a long, long time ago, you and a woman was very much in love. Okay? And your wife died while swimming in that river. Okay? Okay, nói là kiếp trước lâu rồi, ông với một bà vợ, ông thương yêu nhau như sợ, rất là thương yêu nhau. Rồi vợ ông lúc đó ra tắm sông bị chết đuối ở sông đó, ngay cái chỗ đó, cái sông đó, kiếp trước đó, cách đây lâu rồi đó, là chết đuối cái sông đó. Rồi bây giờ bà thành con quỷ, bà ở cái sông đó, bà kẹt cái chỗ sông. So what happened is she became a ghost at that place. Okay? And she's still in love with you. Thành bà này vẫn còn thương ông. Remember? You were madly in love with each other. You think a love story, anything special? You ain't seen nothing yet. So, she's still deeply in love with you. And now after all reincarnation, she found you again in the river, so she tried to kill you. What for? Thầy nói là cái bà đó bà thương, trước bà thương ông dễ sợ, bà chết, bà vẫn nhớ ông. Thành ra bây giờ ông đã thành, sau bao nhiêu gặp nhau lại thì ông làm bác sĩ, ông tới đó ông tắm thì bà nhớ lại ông, bà đợi ông. She's been waiting for you in that spot for so many lifetimes already, for so long already. Now she found you. So she wants you now to be with her, Thành bao nhiêu lâu năm mà đợi ông ở cái chỗ đó rồi, làm con quỷ đợi ông cái sông đó rồi. Because what happens to these ghosts, they're localized. They can not go very far. They cannot travel like us. We hop on U.S. Airways and fly to London to watch the Olympics. By the way, it's the last chance you have, folks. Okay. So you cannot travel far. It's not like us, okay? Ghosts are localized. They can have a range, like a limited range. They cannot go very far. So this ghost has been hanging around, looking, and she finally found you, and that's why she want to kill you. Okay? Thành cái con quỷ á, nó bị kẹt, nó không thể đi xa được, không phải như quý vị có thể leo lên máy bay đi qua bên London để mà coi Thế vận hội đâu, không có đâu. Thành ra bây giờ bà quỷ đó, vợ cũ của ông đó, gặp ông được lại, thành muốn giết ông, nếu ông chết đuối. So she wants to kill you so that you become a ghost like her, so that you continue your love story. Isn't that beautiful? Kim Deal? Yeah, she agrees. Thành ra bà quỷ đó, bà muốn giết ông để ông thành con quỷ, hai người tiếp tục yêu nhau, làm quỷ thương yêu nhau. That's the true story. That's a true Buddhist story. Okay. Does anyone dare ask any more questions about ghosts? Yes. Yes. What happens is that these ghosts also have a lifespan. The only difference is that the ghost lifespan is so much longer than ours. They can live like for hundreds of billions of years. And in this very sad state, they suffer, they're hungry, they're thirsty, and the nature of their existence is that they have to be that way to endure the suffering of the offenses they created in the past. Okay? But after they go through the retribution process. Buddhism is called retribution. So after they endure all the suffering and they go through their lifetime, because the ghosts live for very, very long. And eventually they come to an end, just like us. And at the end of their lives, they go through and see King Yama again. And King Yama tells them to go somewhere else, get a different body. That's all. So it's called reincarnation in Buddhism. Okay? Câu hỏi là cái con quỷ đó, nó sống bao lâu? Thì thầy nói là sống lâu vậy sợ, sống lâu hơn mình nhiều. Tại sao như vậy? Nó sống lâu mà cực khổ lắm, nghèo, đói, khát, okay? Để làm gì? Để chịu cái quả khổ. Rồi nhưng đều sống lâu có thể triệu năm, tỷ năm, nhưng đều sống khi mà hết cái quãng đời đó rồi thì họ trở vào gặp lại Diêm Vương, rồi sẽ luân hồi lại, okay? Sẽ đổi cái thân khác. Any other questions? Okay, so coming back to the point, before I forget, yes. No, he doesn't. He goes through 7 more. Third stage? The third stage, Arhat, he dies. He goes up to the heaven, the form heaven. Then he stays there in that heaven, and at the end of his life, he'll become an Arhat. The fourth stage, Arhat, up there. So he doesn't come back anymore. The fourth stage Arhat, when he dies, he has many choices. One choice is that he can enter Nirvana himself. Okay, enter Nirvana with residues. In that case, then he's suspended forever. He will never get out of it. Okay. It's a rather dangerous, very precarious position if you're not careful. Okay. And the other option is he can go back to the reincarnation wheel. Okay. Or he can say, I want to go back to human realm because now I want to save my wife. So then he comes and becomes her son. Okay. Because there's a difference in birth and death. So some of the Arhats, they choose to come back to our realm so that they can rescue their loved ones. Okay? Or they can go, and another option is that they can go to the Pure Land. And they said, I don't want to go back to the reincarnation wheel. Too much suffering. It's too dangerous for me. Even as a fourth stage arhat, I'm not free from suffering yet. So I'm going to the Pure Land. Pure Land is another world, which is free from suffering. Our world is a world of suffering. We suffer hunger. We suffer thirst. In the Pure Land, which is, ours is called impure land. In Buddhism, it's called impure land. The Sara world. Our world right now is called impure land because we suffer. Okay? There's a different world called Pure Land, which the Asian Buddhists know about. You Caucasians don't know about. The Asian culture has this belief that they die, they obtain rebirth to something called a Pure Land. And when you go there, you're very happy. You no longer have to suffer, ever, until you become a Buddha. That is why, to the Asians, like now In knows about, is beginning to be more enamored with the Pure Land technology. Once you go to the Pure Land, okay, you will never suffer again and you cultivate until you become a Buddha in one lifetime. You no longer have you have no more uncertainty for you. This is Buddhist belief. Okay? That's why, don't laugh. Don't take it lightly. Because the Asian know something the Caucasians don't know yet. Meaning that the Pure Land is the destination of choice when you die, let me tell you. Okay? I assure you. If you come today, and for you newcomers today, I welcome you and I appreciate you coming. I want you to take away from here is all the levity, all the fun, okay? Because Buddhism to me is supposed to be fun in digestible forms, okay? I don't like it when I don't like to lecture in stuffy terms. I say, oh, Buddhism is about suffering. It's about nirvana. It's about liberation. You know, to me, it's nice, it's lofty and all those things, but Buddhism to me is practical. Buddhism is something that is meant for us to use in our daily lives. So that's why when I explain Buddhism, even though in a Vajra Sutra like this, which is very, very formal, very, very advanced concept, I tend to use very simple terms to make sure you understand it and you get something out of it and you can apply in your lives. You utilize the knowledge. Instead of knowing about something, called emptiness, something called about enlightenment, or all these lofty terms, and you don't know what they mean, and you just walk away just as confused as you walk in here and say, wow, this guy knows so much about Buddhism, I don't understand anything. That's 2 hours very well spent. At least now you go home and you can tell him, today you wouldn't believe what I heard today. Ghosts and love. Okay? That's Mahayana to me. Okay. So, what was the question again? That's how important my Mahayana knowledge is. Where was I? Kim Dean, you taking notes? Huh? Thomas, were you awake? No one's awake. Everyone is distracted. Oh, today, what I hope that the visitors to our temple would take away from is a concept called Pure Land. Pure Land is that, if you have more chances to investigate Buddhism and understand the nature of the biggest challenge in our lives is really death. You think about it, because no one that you know of has a way to conquer death yet. Do you? Is that right? No one, everyone you know of, whether it's scientists or the Pope or anyone else, okay? No one has been able to tell you that I can conquer death. What I want you to take away is that there's something concept called arhat, which is a certain level of attainment in Buddhism, in Buddhist practice. He conquers death, and much higher levels as well. Okay? That's the first thing I want you to take away from. The second thing, more important, I hope you take away from this, is something called Pure Land Buddhism, where, the better way to deal with that big challenge of our lives called death. That is the most scary thing you ask me. Because I don't care what you can do this life of yours. But the one thing you cannot avoid is death. The one thing you cannot conquer. You can conquer your hunger. You can conquer your poverty. You can conquer your lack of love. But you cannot conquer death. Okay? The human technology is not capable of doing that. The Buddhists believe there's a way to conquer that death by obtaining the next, since we cannot prevail over our dying process. Let's make sure that when we die, we go to a happy place called the Pure Land. That's the Asian wisdom, folks. Don't take it lightly. That's what the Asian culture has to offer to the world. That if you believe that, and that there's some ways for you, if you do more research down the road, when you get more time, you more circumstances are more appropriate for that for you. There's something called Pure Land Buddhism, will help you assure rebirth to the Pure Land, where you conquer death. Yes.
Now in Buddhism, the only other thing that we hear about is heaven, and that's higher than heaven.
Yeah, it's similarly, thank you for asking the question, because it's related to the question earlier about how long does a ghost live. Okay? If you are not beyond death yet, all of your existences have a limit. Remember, the immortals is not beyond death yet. The immortal is long life, but it's not beyond death. It's not without birth, like the Arhat. Therefore, they still have a limited lifespan. Same thing in the heavens, as the Catholics promote. They still have limited lifespan because they're not beyond death yet. Okay? I don't mean to offend you, but that's what I learned from Buddhism. And you don't have to agree with me. I only share with you what I know, okay, what I was taught. The heavens still has a longer lifespan, much happier in our existence, but it still has an end. Okay? That's the nature of the life in the heavens. That's why the Buddhist says, don't go to the heavens. Go to the Pure Land upon death. You're much better off. Much better off. Okay? Alright? So that's the difference. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, let me translate in the Vietnamese at the end of it, and I will allow you to ask one more question, a final question before we close. Cái thầy giảng sơ sơ cho mấy cái người tới ngày hôm nay, mới tới viếng chùa ngày hôm nay, thì giảng cho họ biết rằng là thầy khuyên là họ nên hiểu rằng là có một cái kỹ thuật bên Phật giáo mà bên nền văn hóa Á Châu đã cống hiến cho cái thế giới này, gọi là cái tịnh độ, pháp môn tịnh độ. Là mình nói ngày hôm nay đó là cái tử thần là không có ai có thể cái sự hiểu biết của con người có thể chinh phục được cái mặt trăng, có thể leo lên mặt trăng, có thể chữa bệnh, có thể làm giàu, nhưng đều chinh phục được cái nghèo, nhưng đều không thể nào chinh phục được cái tử thần. Thành ra bên Phật giáo có một cái pháp tên là pháp môn tịnh độ, một cái phương pháp mà có thể chinh phục được tử thần bằng cách qua bên quả tịnh độ và không còn khổ, và một đời sẽ thành Phật, không còn chết nữa. Okay? That's the easiest way to conquer death, by the way. Much easier than becoming an Arhat. Much easier. Becoming an Arhat is very, very difficult, whereas you go to the Pure Land is a easier process. Okay? All right. Final question. Does anyone has any question? Last chance. Yes.
Well, so are we going to get to the state of a fourth stage Arhat today or not?
We spent some time on the first slide on the fourth stage Arhat already. We'll continue next week. Okay? Didn't we? I thought we went through one slide, didn't we? I started talking about fourth stage Arhat. We continue. It's a lot to talk about. It's a very special state.
Yeah.
Actually, I was planning on explaining more about some aspects of the fourth stage, but didn't have enough time.
Okay.
2 hours flew by just so fast.
Yeah.
Yes, Thomas.
I don't know if you have time to get into this, but I was just curious about like why I would have regressed after going to CTTB and doing a retreat there. I mean, I had some thoughts about those are things I did after the retreat ended.
Yeah.
Is that something I could ask about?
I don't know why you regress. I'm not sure. I just noticed that your concentration is not very good today. So that's why I asked you how you're feeling. If it's not a lack of sleep, I don't understand. Okay.
I mean, cause I was thinking about that. I was kind of curious, wondering, if I did something wrong at the retreat there. But there could have been after the retreat because first of all, I talked to a couple of people, either towards the end or like at the very end, I talked to Venerable Hung Shun for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then I stopped in San Francisco and talked to my friend Ben for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And he's obviously coming from a much more scattered place.
Yeah.
So is it possible I just lost a lot of steam there?
I don't know.
Okay.
But
and the other thing is then I spoke in front of the assembly, and the topic was maybe a little bit. I mean, in talking about my experience, I just mentioned it's hard to avoid the basics. That okay, well I'm planning to leave home and obviously down here with you, and so that even though I tried to present that in a kind of casual way, but that's already kind of throwing a wrench into their system. Like why? It's sort of strange that they even ask me to speak when they know that about me.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if that, just giving that presentation for a few minutes could also have been part of it. Or if I shouldn't even worry about it, doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's just, it's just something I noticed. Something I noticed that you came back good in the sense that the environment is good, so you came back good. But, yesterday we practiced chant. So we're building our concentration power. And so that's why I noticed that you're not as sharp as when you left. So you came back. I remember the last image I have of you, and then the first image I saw of you this morning, I said, whoa, there's a difference. That's all. That's what I noticed. And that all I do is I tell you that, I made the observation, and that's all I got. I don't know anything more than that. Okay? And maybe someday we understand why. It's just that sometimes you just have to be happy with that additional piece of information, and, whatever comes out of it, let it be. Don't worry about it. Don't attach it either way. That's the spirit of Vajra Sutra. You know it, you drop it. It's not a big deal. Okay? Or if I don't even know why, I drop it even quicker. It's less embarrassing. Okay? Any other questions? I don't know everything. I just, share you whatever I know. That's all I have. Okay? All right. Thank you for coming. Have a pleasant day at the beach. Everyone. Okay. By the way, we also have this Buddhist practice of transference, meaning that we give away all the goodness we generated through this, your being here, your participation, to everyone, hoping they obtain rebirth to the Pure Land. It's a kind of Buddhist idiosyncrasy, you will. It's kind of act of kindness. Okay? So that's what we propose. Give away. Don't keep anything for yourself. Share the goodness with the world. May these merits and virtues adorn the Buddha's Pure Land, repay the 4 kinds of kindness above, in the threefold paths below. May those who see and hear Oh, bring forth the body mind. And when this retribution body is done, be all born a land of utmost bliss. Nam mô Ta Chư Vấn Su Sư